The more you drink, the better she sounds. And action. All right, so hello, I'm going to be really quick with the introductions because we got started late because of all the parking hell. I apologize for the San Francisco Giants. Not a baseball fan. As we mentioned earlier, well, first of all, you are in TechSoup right now, TechSoup Global. TechSoup is a nonprofit. We help other nonprofits with their technology needs. We've been around for 25 years. If you're fascinated by the history, just look right behind you. There's a whole timeline about it. So we have a number of different programs. Our main program is a product distribution program where nonprofits can get products, the big products like Microsoft, Cisco, Symantec, Adobe, Intuit at 5% of retail, and they have to be real 501c3 nonprofits to do it. It's not a store, it's more like a grant. And that program funds all these other really cool programs that we do, which have to do with education and community, and we're putting on challenges and events. Right now we have an event called the Digital Storytelling Event. You can find out more about that if you go to tsdigs.org, tsdigs.org, and look at the hashtag tsdigs. I am here with our newest division of TechSoup, which is called Caravan Studios. My boss right there, Marnie Webb, is the founder and CEO, and she loves to be introduced and highlighted in public, and she's chewing, so I wanted to say a few words. You guys can follow Caravan Studios on Twitter and TechSoup on Twitter. Our Twitter handles for everybody here are right there, and I am at SUZBOOP, Suzboop. Susan Chavez is right here, Susan_Chavez on Twitter, who's our wonderful volunteer and photographer and live blogger. Time Doctor is Mr. Zachary right here, who is our volunteer live streamer, who's shy and so great. And Mark Siegel is at the door, I believe. Oh, there, he's right there. Mark Siegel, another wonderful volunteer. Crystal is not here tonight, but she will be doing the Storyfy and the live and the blog recap, and she's that girl, Crystal. At Scab is Matthew Fairchild, who is the cute little boy that you saw at the front door, who has a boyish charm. And we have Betty Ray as our speaker, Edutopia Betty from edutopia.org. A couple quick housekeeping notes. As you know, talking on the phone and these kind of things is very impolite. So if you need to, just run out to the hallway, and the bathrooms are out there. We have a little bit of schmooze time afterwards, and then I'll kick you guys out impolitely. Other than that, if you have not already signed up on this Meetup group, we are the OCTribe, the online community tribe. Go to meetup.com/OCTribe. You'll be put on the mailing list. Final note, next month there is no Meetup. Do you know why? Someone knows. I know somebody here in this room knows why. Because the unconference, the online community unconference, is next month. Woo! On May 21st. And for those of you who are interested in volunteering, get in touch with me. You can see me on the meetup.com page. You can tweet at me. You can email Susan at TechSoup.org, Susan at CaravanStudios.org. Get in touch with me if you're interested in volunteering. If you're interested in just going and paying, that's great too. If you're interested in sponsoring, get in touch. It's a great gathering of a bunch of online community leaders, people who do this. And the best thing about an unconference is that there are no planned speakers. So you guys go in, you propose a talk, you give a spiel, and if people vote on it, you get to speak. It's very fun. And we haven't had one for several years. And I'm one of the organizers. There's 4 organizers, or 5, I think. 5 of us, but 4 active organizers. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else to say other than I'm going to hand it over to Edutopia Betty. Woo! Oh, and well, when we do Q&A, I'll pass around the mic because the people who are listening to the live stream, the back channel who's on Ustream right now, cannot hear unless we talk in the mic.
Okay, hi everybody. Thanks for coming out and braving all this baseball traffic and all the construction and everything. It's a little bit crazy. So, but if you're here because we're talking about design thinking. And I just wanted a quick show of hands. Who here has heard of design thinking? Awesome. And who here has done it? A couple people? Cool. Okay, cool. Well, this is going to be a super whirlwind crash experience. This is actually, we're going to participate in design thinking. We're going to do it. So you probably aren't going to have a whole lot of time to tweet and check out your computers because we're going to be working in small groups. People on the online, sorry about this. This is a pretty interactive experience, but you can grab a couple sheets of paper and maybe you can simulate it at home too because we do have handouts. Anybody missing a handout? Okay, here, can you pass them back to her? How many? 2 people? Oh, yeah, you need one. Okay. Couple handouts for you guys. Anybody on the other side here? You're all set? You got to have a handout or this is really boring. Okay. All right. So, why would be interested in design thinking? Well, design thinking is actually a really great tool for managing very complex situations, chaotic situations, ever-changing situations, situations that require a lot of people. So those of us who are involved in online communities find that it's got a lot of benefit. And I'm really intrigued to work with you guys. My own background is in online community. I've been doing online community since the mid-90s. So I'm really excited to see how these two intersect because I have yet to present on online community. So my background, I'm with Edutopia currently. I'm the senior blog editor there. I'm also overseeing the online community at edutopia.org. Previous to that, I was doing a startup for people who are over 40. It was a social network for people over 40. And before that, I was with Live 365 Internet Radio, and I was doing that for like 7 years. And before that, I was with Bitstream Underground, which was a little first-class BBS located in Minneapolis. So I've been doing this kind of stuff for a very long time. My interest in design thinking, though, is more recent. I started doing that. I went to a design thinking at Stanford. They had a boot camp there, which was a 3-day immersive. Previous to that, I had done some design thinking with the Big Ideas Fest and doing that all within the context of education. So design thinking education, super powerful combination, likewise with community. So I'm really excited about working with you guys. So our goals today, am I in front of this? That's problematic. Can you see? The goals today are to just get a hands-on experience with the design thinking cycle and to give you some tools to maybe work with your online communities. So I'm going to speed along. As I said before, this is going to be very speedy. It's going to feel like it goes too fast, and that's good. That's by design. Today, we are going to do our design challenge today is to design a product or service to improve the conference networking experience. So we all go to conferences, we're community people, we network, we have our business cards, we meet 1 million people, and we get done and we get home and we've got this bag full of cards, and what do we do with those? So we're going to redesign that experience. Today we're going to think like designers and see if we can figure out another way to do it. So in the spirit of design thinking, open up your pamphlets there and go to the second page. These are out of order, lovely. We had a little mistake at the copy shop. So it says, your challenge, design a product or service to improve the conference contact / networking experience. Everybody there? Page 2. Page 3. Oops, I didn't mean to do that.
When that happens, don't worry. It's automatic and we turn it back on.
Okay.
We're used to it.
Okay. Okay, does everybody have a pen? Because you're going to need one. Who doesn't have a pen? I brought extras. Some people don't have pens?
Oh, I can pass out pens.
Okay, great.
You don't have to pass out pens, but you're the speaker.
I know, but I did bring extras because no one ever has pens. It's the digital age. Why do we ever have pens, right? No one needs it. Okay, is everybody ready? So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a few minutes. We're going to have 3 minutes to design a new way of conference networking. So I'm going to start the timer. You're going to have 3 minutes. And go. Yes, by yourself. Okay, one more minute. Okay. So stop, pens down. It's like a number 2 pencil test, isn't it? I feel like I'm administering the SATs or something. Okay, anyway, so that was the classic problem-solving approach, right? How many of us have been in the situation where you've got like 2 minutes to figure out a serious problem, they send you off to your office by yourself, in front of a blank computer screen, okay, go figure that out, right, by yourself. That doesn't really work. As far as problem solving, true problem solving, really tackling hard problems, that's a really hard way to do it. So if that was hard for you, you're not alone. That is a really hard way to do things, and that's what we're going to learn, how not to do that. What we're going to do instead is a design thinking approach, which is, so design thinking is actually a more human-centered approach. It takes real people into account. It's also collaborative. It's 5 stages. They're up here. And the 5 stages, it looks linear. Empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. But it actually doesn't have to happen in a linear fashion. It can happen, you can do part of it, or you can loop through, or you can do, 1 and 2, or 1 and 3 rather, and move through them that way. So it's actually quite flexible. Design thinking has been around since the 70s. It has roots in the engineering sector. IDEO, which is the design firm and innovation firm, started using it in earnest in the 1990s. So it's got a long history. It's been primarily used, though, in engineering, but a lot of other sectors are starting to use it. Nonprofits, where we're from, there's a lot more activity in nonprofits. Certainly in startups, they're using it. It's just getting more and more play as people are figuring out how to use it and what the benefits of it are. So it's our hope that today we can build some skills for you guys so that you can take it back to your online communities and we can just start more of a discussion about it. So we're going to start with a warm-up. Now don't be scared. I'm not going to make you guys jump up and do jumping jacks. But what I do want you to do is stand up and greet at least as many people as you can in 1 minute. Just say hi and you're awesome. That's a good thing to do. 1 minute. I had a gong the last time I did this, and it sounded so cool. But my daughter's xylophone is not any substitute. Okay, great. So you had a chance to meet some people. Now we're going to go and we're going to find a partner. So if you had a nice chat with somebody, go. Ideally you do this with somebody that you don't know. So find somebody that you don't know, preferably one of those people that you just chatted with, and take a minute and go sit next to them if you're not currently. So are you next to your partner? Because we're going to do some partnership. Okay, we got a partner? Everybody got a partner? Okay, we're going to move on. It's the next phase. We are going to start design thinking now. Woo! Everybody, now, does everybody have a partner, or do we have somebody that has no partner? No partner? Okay, does someone else want to? Okay, over there. You can be with that partnership. So you guys are just going to do the same thing, but you're going to have shorter times with each person, okay? So just kind of calculate it. Okay, great. So what we're going to do now is we're going to enter into the empathy phase of the presentation. This point, we're going to do the same design challenge. We're going to design the whole idea of business card networking, but you're going to design it for your partner. First, what we're going to do is we're going to listen. We're going to take a few minutes and we're going to talk to each other. We've got two partners, partner A and partner B. Partner A is going to listen to partner B talk about their experience at conferences, and your partner A is going to write down what they're hearing. Okay, so, and then after, we're going to have 3 minutes for that one, and then we're going to switch. So just some interview questions, some interview tips. It's things like, instead of saying like, doesn't it suck to have business cards? They really are terrible. We're going to look for more open-ended questions, like, tell me about the last time that you were at a conference. How did that work for you? Or what about, was there ever somebody that you met that you wished you had had a better way of connecting with them? So you're going to look for concrete examples. You're going to look for stories. You're going to look for a way to really understand what the networking experience is like for the other person. So we're going to, oh, and here's some other ones. Avoid usually and always. Oh, sorry. Okay, I need to be able to control that though. Anyway, so you're gonna always ask why, ask short questions, and so these are like, to get to the bottom of it, you're just gonna use some of these techniques. Avoid binary or leading questions. Don't you hate conferences is not really a helpful one, but like, tell me about the last time. Looking for stories is really the best way to do this. Okay, so everybody's gonna have partner A listen to partner B for 3 minutes, and then we're gonna switch. Okay, you ready? Okay. Go. Okay, everybody, it's time to switch partners. So partner B, you can now interview partner A. Same questions. How's it looking? Seems like it would be really boring if you were online.
Yeah, I can actually tell how many people are watching from this view. I think I can tell from my Let's try to find out.
Okay, I think I got this will help. I got a.
Do you want me to yell when you want me to make people shut up?
What?
Do you want me to yell to everyone to shut up when you're ready? I'm fine. You're shy, it seems
I can
like.
shot. No, I can.
You can.
What I wanted to like is like it's more
There was one on assessing social impact and measuring social impact. It's a very expensive
Beer? Do you drink beer?
we got together tiny
No.
pieces.
Do you like good beer or like kind of beer? Good beer.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some other ones. What's the phrase that you call networking? Like networking events? They usually send out a list
So wrap up your interviews there. All right, very good. So now we're going to go into the next phase, which is digging a little bit deeper. So we've had our interviews. We know a little bit about. We know a little bit. Thank you about what our how our people are dealing with how our partners are dealing with these situations. But now we're going to go deeper. We're going to look for feelings. We're going to look for motivations. We're going to look for verb needs, and that translates as verbs. So start to think about this, because what we're going to do with this stuff is we're going to start to narrow down into a problem statement. So what now I want you to do is really look for like what is inspiring, what are the pain points, what does your person want to get out of networking that they're not getting currently. You're going to have 2 minutes. This is going to be shorter, and you can start now. Partner A, and then there's dig deeper. You can see it on your handout, so write it down there. Okay, time to switch partners. 2 minutes is up. Go partner B. If you haven't answered yet, it's your turn. Did you just get here? Do you want a handout? Do you want a handout? Yes, please. This is a super interactive thing, so it's... All right. Yeah, have a seat. No, is there more people? Yeah, take a bunch. Okay, everybody, that's it. Time to put it down. All right, well done. So you probably now have a wealth of information about your partner. You probably know more than you even thought you would possibly could know about your partner. What we're going to do now is the second phase of design thinking, which is the define phase. So we just went really big. We know a lot of stuff, and now we're going to focus in, and we're going to create a point of view statement or a problem statement about this person. So go to the page that says ideate. It's got a number 4 at the top. These are janky. I apologize for the way that this was collated. There's a little blank spot at the top. And what we're going to do now is we're going to write a sentence that looks like this in the blank spot above number 4. And the sentence looks like this. The blank, which is your partner's name, and a description about your partner, needs a way to do something. Users need. You guys all see that? Surprisingly, or because, but, and there's the insight. So you heard the stories, maybe you heard some inconsistencies or things that the person really feels. So we're going to write it. So here's an example of one. Betty Ray, a busy working mom who runs a large group blog, needs a way to organize her contacts meaningfully because every time she comes home from a conference, her desk is covered with stuff that she doesn't know what it is and it's useless. So she spent that whole time organizing these cards and it's not helpful. So that's one example of a problem statement. But you can so now you can spend a few minutes, 2 minutes on your own writing a problem statement for your partner. Okay? No, it's not. This is the problem that, yeah. Number 3 ended up getting confusing, so this is not in there. So you have to write it kind of longhand at the top of the page that says ideate, because you're going to use this as your problem statement in the next phase. And this should feel like a problem worth solving. It should be a juicy, actionable problem, something that feels like it might more people than your partner may have the same problem. What? Oh, yeah, sorry. Maybe I'll do this thing is so user name description needs a way to do something. Surprisingly, or because, or but, and that the last part is the insight. Some of the things that surprised you when you heard their story. Okay, 15 more seconds. Okay. So, you've just synthesized a lot of information about your partner, about what their needs are, about their pain points, and you're beginning to be able to define now something that you're going to solve against. So in the next phase, the ideate phase, this is the big creative expansive brainstorming phase. This is when we're going to take, in your handout, you'll see that there's 5 boxes there. We're going to sketch some ideas to help solve that person's problem. And one of the really great hallmarks of design thinking is that you don't get attached to your ideas. It's not one awesome idea that you sculpt and craft forever. At this phase, at the beginning, you throw away ideas. Ideas are like paper towels. Come up with a bunch of them. Come up with ones that could be really simple, ones that could be super hard, ones that are ridiculous. You know, aliens come and, you know, make business card caddies for you or whatever. So the idea here is to come up with something really radical and something really simple. Just let yourself flow freely here. Let's see if I'm missing anything. Yeah, so this is going to be on your own. So you just take some time. We've got 4 minutes here. Try to use pictures as much as possible. Pictures rather than words are really helpful. And you can also be thinking of things, not just products, but maybe there are services. So just think big picture here and think, you know, yeah, think broadly. Yeah, that's it. So, yeah, so we got about 4 minutes each, or 4 minutes on your own. I'll start it now. Okay, got about 15 seconds left. Just do one really crazy one at the end, just for good measure. All right. And that's time. So now you've gotten these really cool ideas. Now it's time to bring them back to your partner. And this is the share solution and capture feedback part. So take a few minutes and show your ideas to your partner. You can explain them to them. I mean, obviously some stick figures may or may not be completely understandable by everybody. So walk them through it, but don't get their feedback until you're done. And then when you're done, really listen for their feedback. Don't defend your ideas. You're listening. This is your really chance to really understand what is resonating and what isn't. Somebody once said at another design thinking thing, feedback is a gift, and that's a really awesome way to think about this. So when you start, so take a few minutes. Partner A can start sharing feedback, and then partner B does the same. We'll have 3 minutes each for this, or 2 minutes. Wow, we're really on a short one. 2 minutes each. Okay. That's awesome. These are awesome. Oh, good. Considering we're not doing anything for them.
And also,
Yeah. Really? I know. How many people would you say are here? Okay, it's not 50 because I can take 50. I can figure it out that way. It's 45. 45. Yeah, I only have 5. I only have 4 left. Wow. Wow. Uh-huh. Okay, everybody, it's time to switch. Partner switch. Hi. Hey, Hubert. How are you? I'll give you a hug from here. No worries. Don't stand up. I miss you. Great. Nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
Okay, time to wrap it up. That was 2 minutes. Time to move on, everybody. Okay, everybody, let's go. We're going to go on to the next phase. Stop talking. Okay, let's move on. We're on a very tight schedule, and I don't want to keep you guys here till 9 o'clock. So, all right, very good. Well, I'm super excited to see, first of all, that so many people have like 5 and even more of those cells filled up. That's awesome, because that is really the idea here, is just think big, think weird, think creative, just think outside, the proverbial box. What we're going to do now is we're going to go into the prototype phase. We're going to take all that great ideation. You got some great feedback. You know what's resonating, what your partner is likely to use and not use. Now we're going to make a prototype for them. And now, excuse me? Oh, you just got feedback. You got to listen. Okay, if you didn't get feedback, that actually does happen a lot because people don't pay attention. So, just kind of use like as much feedback as you can glean. And then the nice thing about design thinking is if you were going to do this in the real world, you'd have another cycle or 2 or 3 or 4. So just, that's the idea, is get feedback, prototype, feedback, prototype. So you'll just have to simulate that you have some feedback. So what we're going to do now is we're not going to do, unfortunately, like big, robust prototypes, but we're going to draw something. So you can see in this little box here, there's a way you could draw a prototype. So, this is where it says build and test underneath your, on the next page, sorry, number 6. And so now you're going to actually take the synthesis of some of the ideas that you just heard, the feedback, and you're going to do a prototype here. And this is going to be, everybody's going to do this on your own for your partner. And we're going to take 5 minutes to do that. So think about this as something that you can walk them through when they're done. Again, it doesn't have to be anything but stick figures. You'll have a chance to walk them through. Okay, 5 minutes and go. I know, I'm totally like, blah, blah, blah. Remember, this can be a service too. It doesn't have to be a product. So if it's a service, you might do a little costume or something that would reflect the service. Okay, 15 more seconds. So, okay, so we are really cruising through this. Isn't this fun? Now we're at the last stage. We're at test. So you've gotten a prototype, and now it's time to share it with your partner. Now you're going to get the feedback, which, you know, if you were going to do a real cycle, you do this again. But you're going to get this instant feedback. So again, test your solution again, and don't, again, thinking about this not defensively, but this is another kind of empathy opportunity. You're going to listen to what your partner said about your design, and, you know, you can incorporate it in your next round, which you won't do in this, but in the real world you would. On the sheet there's number 7, and you'll see there's 4 little blocks. You don't really have to do that. We don't have that much time, but really it's interesting to think about the feedback in terms of what worked, what could be improved, questions that arose, and then any new ideas. So it's this is handy if you want to, you know, just kind of think about this for the future. Have it on hand. So right now we're going to have 3 minutes each. So partner A can interview partner B on your prototypes. Go for it. Okay, it's time to switch partners. Switch partners. Did you guys all switch partners? Okay. You guys switch yet? Did you switch?
Yeah.
Good, okay. Okay, everybody, it's time to wrap it up. We're all done. We just did it. That was design thinking. Woo! Okay, now this is going to get more interesting for the people at home. Because now we're actually going to have a conversation about this, and not as a group. We're going to talk about that a little bit. So, so how did that go for people? Anyone got a comment you want to share with the folks on the internet?
He said 99 cents. He's a musician. I said, well, there's a lot of musicians for 99 cents each.
Awesome. Great. So you designed an app for her as her contact? Let's talk about the design process.
So, you mean from my... I list.
About your partner, like did he design something that was really helpful for you? Or?
Yeah. So, both of us, there are actually a lot of similarities in the two apps, but what it is it allows us to, so there's for example, the app I built for him, there's a phone piece where you immediately get to categorize, you immediately get to make notes like you would on the back of the card, you immediately get to schedule your follow-ups in a very simple way, and then it goes into the app, which is the one that you are dealing with. In his case, he was more interested in Twitter handles. And so it automatically created Twitter feeds for the categories that you put them in. You didn't have to go into Hootsuite or whatever and do it later and sync to your choice of address book. So all that was done automatically, not having to put them into other systems. And his, for me, was very similar, just that I was more interested in address and contact type of information. Is that good? Yeah.
Great. Thanks. Does anyone else want to brag about your partner? Your partner did something awesome for your pain point? You got one over there? Okay.
I just found it interesting. We both were talking about apps as well, but what we came to at the end was, wait a minute, there actually are apps already. Just you go to these things and there's no standards. Like there's no idea of this is how we're all going to exchange information, which I know people do things in different ways, but we thought about how, wait a minute, this sort of stuff kind of already does exist, but just someone comes up and goes, I want to do this with you, and you go, what? Sorry, I have no idea what you're trying to bump me or whatever else. So yeah.
Cool. Oh, that's great. Anyone else want to brag about your partner? Yeah? Here.
So I described feeling overwhelmed coming out of conferences by not knowing how to follow up and what to do. And my brilliant partner suggested, we both came up with ideas for apps around categorizing context, but she talked about a color-coded system based on emotional response. And for some reason, that really resonated with me. And I thought that was really creative.
We worked together though.
Yeah.
We came up with one thing that combined both our ideas. Well, the feeling's mutual here. So where I was more emotional, she was more practical, and we combined our efforts and designed one thing. We kind of like total empathy.
Yeah, that's cool. That actually happens a lot with the mind meld. By like the phase three, people start to blend it. Anybody else want to brag? Describe the thing that they invented for you that you would use? No? Okay, well, let's talk some more about the design thinking process then, and how we might use it for community. How might we, one of the things I love about design thinking is they always start out the questions with how might we do X? How might we solve this problem? And so the question I would like to put to this group is how might we use design thinking with our online communities? You got one? Yeah.
Well, so my takeaway is design thinking is really about talking to your customers and listening to them. And I think as community managers, like my prime job is to have talked to the customer for my company so that we listen to them.
Do you have any examples of what kinds of things you would talk to them about? I mean, like product things or content things or?
Well, so I come from a product world, so I mean all sorts of product features, or my previous job we designed events, so we would ask them what sorts of cars or what sorts of tracks and that kind of stuff. And to the degree that we could let the customers help us drive the product, you know, we did. I mean, we had our own business drivers, but I think the more, and actually I would just say even the more they think they're being heard, whether they really are or not, helps the whole process too.
Anyone else? Yeah.
So I don't know, speaking off the cuff, but I think it might be kind of cool to have like use design thinking like as open like office hours a little bit, like maybe use Google Hangouts and say all of a sudden, hey guys, do you have a problem? Like talk to your constituents or whatever. Like we have educators we talk to. It's like, hey, let's use this space to do some design thinking. What are your problems? And there you're supporting them. You're giving them a space to collaborate and connect with each other. So it might be kind of a cool thing to do.
Anyone else? Other ideas? Yeah.
We both talked about making information more active and not just like a static card or profile. So I don't know, some ways so that if you have a profile on your website, that it's not a static thing, that it can be enlarged constantly.
We were actually fairly complimentary because I was sort of describing as an app and looking at the sort of the technology and pre-files and what you're doing when you're interacting and immediately afterwards and then somewhat later, and he was covering mostly the direct interaction right at the time you're talking to one another. I was sort of looking at the larger picture and covering most of the other details.
That's really interesting, though, but a really interesting reflection on the process, which is that people bring different strengths and perceptions to a problem. And so when you really ask them with this kind of structured kind of interview, it really, you can start to bring that kind of thing out. I mean, one of the things I absolutely love about design thinking is this idea that there's designated time and phases for expansion and listening. There's then designated time for narrow focus. Then there's designated time for brainstorm independently. And then there's, so that, there oftentimes we're in meetings and, it's going on a really awesome brainstorm and everybody's really excited. And then there's that one killjoy that's like, oh, that's not going to work because of blah. And then the whole meeting just goes derail. And this is a really great way to like say, yeah, you know what? That kind of thinking, that sort of more focused thinking is awesome and we need that, but do it later. Right now we're ideating. And so like it just gives permission for people to be really creative and really focused simultaneously, or at least in, you know, in order. So, Brian, did you have something?
I think the context, around the wording of the questions was really good as a way to put people as set people as collaborators, and then as you said, kind of that pacing, that there are cycles. There's different times for different, when you're just off on your own thinking of ideas and then interviewing them. There's some contrast there. So sort of time and place for some of the different, kind of essential elements to moving forward towards solutions. So.
Other thoughts? Yeah.
I guess it's a question, but has there ever been an online community that's formed on the basis of design thinking? You know what I mean? You're like, hey guys, we want to start this community, or maybe you have a crappy community and you want to start it, and you're like, all right, how can we make this better? And people have buy-in and they're really excited, and you're using design thinking to make it better. I don't know if there's a model out there, but that'd be kind of cool. Or maybe all of our communities aren't as good as we want them to be, and we use design thinking.
Just a comment on that is OpenIDEO. If you have you ever seen it? It's a whole. OpenIDEO is IDEO's attempt at bringing community to design thinking, and it's they'll put a question like one that I was working on is how can Europe create more tech startups? Right, so everyone is putting their ideas up, and then they're going through this whole process, but it's on an online basis, and then they're coming out with the final ideas, and everyone can contribute and stuff. It's cool.
Yeah, that's a good example. Yeah, definitely. There's also there's a lot of design thinking meetups where they do. I mean, it's actually people who are practitioners of design thinking, and there's one in San Francisco. Which is, another place to just collaborate with other design thinking people. And at Edutopia, we're going to use design thinking as we relaunch our online community. Anyone else have any reflections, comments? How was that experience for you? Yeah.
I just liked the fact that the importance was placed on identifying the problem rather than the solutions. In our data, lots of solutions, but the problem stays the same, and the solutions can change. Is that sort of the idea? Yeah. And just on the other thing was, one thing is to talk with the community about what their problems are, but sometimes the other group to talk to would be the support team about what the community's problems are, because quite often the support team deal with their problems on a daily basis, and they actually know them almost sometimes more intimately than individuals. Yeah, those are all some really good points. So the one thing that I also think is really intriguing here is that we spent the first 3/5 of this process understanding what the problem is. That just took most of the hour and a half that we spent. I mean, that's really so reverse than what normally companies do. So that's really interesting. And you can also apply design thinking in any you can apply it with your community. You can also apply it with your staff. And to your point, understanding the support team. I was with a colleague who was involved in Citrix, the GoToMeeting, and they had a really interesting set of problems. And he got all the business owners from across this immense organization to work and to do design thinking together to really understand how they could better leverage their business intelligence. So it's it can be used internally and with our communities. And I've actually used it in my relationship at home with my husband, which is a whole nother conversation. But it's really great for that too, especially building empathy. Whoops, the lights go out. That was weird timing. Okay, that's a super bright. Anybody else want to? We're really running late now, right? As you guys want to open chatter time? Okay. Well, I'm really just interested in feedback. I really want to have a conversation about how about this in communities. Yeah, Brian.
Sort of at the risk of blatantly selling my company's platform, there's definitely people doing for online communities, creating small group conversations using the Maestro conference platform, and just did a bunch of stuff for the Obama campaign, crowdsourced, all kinds of ideas for them, 35,000 events. But anyway, if anybody wants to try to do it, what Betty Ray did for your own online community, I'd happy to offer you some kind of VIP access or whatever, free thing. So get my card. Can definitely be done online, I guess was my comment.
Yeah, please.
All right. So I have a sort of a question about this whole design thinking process as a whole. So I work for an app. We're an SRI-backed app. We have a lot of great AI technology and stuff. And the big problem with our app is that people don't really know how to use it when they download it. So I can definitely see how this is going to come in really awesome at my work. So my question is, how do you get buy-in? Like, how would I introduce this to my coworkers if this is my first time being exposed to it? So
that's a great question. Do you have contact with the customers directly? Yes. Okay. What I would suggest is doing some paper prototypes with customers. So what we didn't do today is really, a robust prototyping process. And if this was like a 2-hour or a 3-day endeavor, we would have some time to really build some tangible things that you can put in front of people. But I think and I'm glad you brought this up, because one of the real strengths of design thinking is this idea of prototyping. So I would do literally paper with Post-its to simulate a UI and really get their feedback. You can do that online. You can do that over with a Google Hangout. Just send them a copy of it. But it's better to do it in person so they can literally move the Post-its around on the prototype. That is a really great way to do it. And send them, do 10 of them. You can just do this. They're free. It's paper, so you don't have to do any design with your design team or anything like that. It's a really great way to get, and then hear what they want, because they'll tell you, because who does not love having their opinion asked? They love to talk about it. Do you guys have other, yeah?
I was just wondering if anyone knew, or you knew, whether this has been used for something like a conference. So I've just started working with VigLink, and we do ForumCon, and we've tried to this year take on board all the feedback we had from last year, and it would kind of be a step further from the unconference, because that is pitching and then people are pushing for what they want to see on the day. But I wondered if you could take it the step before and do it in the lead up to the event, so you got your community to design think through their event.
That is a super cool idea. I've seen it in schools where they've had events where they've led up to the event with a design thinking process. So I'm sure that would work in a more public kind of thing too, because it does scale. I mean, that's the interesting thing, because you're just doing things in teams, So I would, do a 1 to 20, or, you could have a smaller group. I wouldn't do it too giant, because you'd lose people's voices. But yeah, I think you had your.
I was just going to say real quickly, I've been to a conference where they did a design thinking track, where they used that to design what the track would be inside a traditional conference. And it was really cool, because they used a cube, and at the like a literal big cube, not like this kind of work until you die cube, but like a cube that you can write on all the sides for. And that's what they used to start the process and fill in. So people designed what the sessions in the track would be, and then they put them on. But what was interesting was how it folded into the way that the people that ran the sessions ran their sessions. Because even though they were experts standing up there that probably had 1,000 presentations in their back pocket, they did it in a much more collaborative way to figure out what the attendees needed in that track. Then similar sessions, there were a whole bunch of sessions that were duplicated, right? But the feeling of that group was very different, more than the content. Yeah.
That's super interesting. Did you want to?
So I have a question, because the part that was really informative is the empathy part, where it's, interview and then dig deeper. And that worked really well with just one person, because then I can ask the next questions. How is then that built into a group environment of doing that empathy phase?
Well, generally, that one of the things that is sort of a tenet in design thinking is to really design for the super user or the extreme user. So you really want to identify your super users instead of we typically think we should do the research and we should get, as many people on board with this product as possible. The theory of design thinking, or the process of design thinking, would say otherwise. They say, you can design for those people, and you could just find those people and just find, but there is benefit to understanding your super user and designing for them, because they're the ones who are going to evangelize on your behalf if you get the product right for them. So you can do that, but and you can also scale it. Like, I'm doing some design thinking for our Edutopia community right now, and I'm just interviewing, some really super intense super users, and then also just some lurkers, and just kind of understanding what the themes are and what their pain points are. And it's remarkable how similar they end up being. But you're doing all the interviews. I am doing all the interviews, yeah. So it's slow. Oh, sorry, I misunderstood you. Okay.
If you want to get a lot of people involved in the interview process, and like in a big community, you want them to understand people who have different position than they have, and develop for an ecosystem. So what ideas do you have around that?
Well, I don't personally, but does someone else? I mean, that's a great question. I haven't done that personally, but I could see where you could. Does anyone? Ilana?
Hi, I'm Alana. I work with Betty. I'm with her. No, I'm kind of a data nerd, so I would be using a CRM solution, or something that's mobile where they can take the notes and all have the same, with the questions. Make sure they're asking the same tone of questions and putting it in and labeling it, and so then you can look at patterns within your CRM system. And all CRMs, so contact relationship management systems or customer relationship management systems, you can tag them. You can make them the way you want them to work. So for me, I would do it that way, but I'm sure there's 10 million other ways. I don't know. Does that help?
So you're saying one individual does the interviewing? Right, but when I'm interviewing a specific customer or a specific member of the community, I'm interviewing one person, and the feedback that I get from them from those questions are put into the database. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The only challenge I have for that, and test me on this from a design thinking standpoint, is what was organic in the conversation is I can't predetermine the questions because the response elicits the next question. Whereas if you have strategically kind of said, these are the questions that we're going to ask ahead of time, you're making assumptions on the direction of what the use case is kind of already. I'm wondering about that.
Yeah, that's really important. I think it's really important to have a set of questions that are consistent, but also build in time for spontaneity and for the things that you discover, because that's really where you're going to get the interesting nuggets that you can design for. So I would say a combination, a hybrid approach. Yeah, she is describing Wordle as a way to analyze the data and understand patterns. Okay, we got some people over here. You? Lauren?
So one of the ways that I've handled that at the consulting group I work for is to do role play. So I worked with an organization that didn't have a chance for all of the staff to do all of the discovery interviews for a website process. And we knew that because of the staff dynamics that would be a challenge, and that they would perhaps have some issues with the answers we were presenting to them if they had not shared in the discovery. So we had them do role play where we asked them to fill out a Mad Lib, which had some pre-populated things, and it's fun. So gamification plus design thinking. Could we go there? Is that too much? Bingo. And so we had them fill out a Mad Lib, and then we had them then act out the role that they identified for the audience type for the website in the Mad Lib. And around the room, people were just going, I'd never thought of that. And you have to just kind of think of what game or what activity can we create where people have that reaction, that empathy reaction of, I never thought of that, I'm surprised. That's what you're looking for, is that surprise part. And that can help kind of shortcut having everyone do every single interview, because it ultimately is a logistical nightmare for that kind of thing to happen. So that's one way I've seen that work successfully.
Okay. One more comment? I think we're getting close. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Go ahead. I just wanted to mention, I realized that I didn't really describe what Caravan Studios does, the newest division of TechSoup, where Marnie and I work. So we're basically developing apps for nonprofits. We're doing it through hackathons and a number of other ways, going through some different corporate code sprints, things like that. So I wanted you guys to follow Caravan Studios and check us out as well. And the only other, if you're interested in hackathons, specifically hackathons for good and apps for good, please get in touch with me. Like I said, I'm Suze Boop on Twitter, or you can find me at Susan at TechSoup. Some of you already emailed me, which is great. And the last thing I wanted to say was with regard to the unconference. Scott Moore, who's actually listening on the live stream right now, is acting as our volunteer coordinator for the unconference, and he reminded me that 4 hours of volunteer time equals 1 comp. So for a limited number of people. So if you are interested in volunteering 4 hours at the conference, you'll get a free ticket, which is significant because it's about $100. And also, if you already paid and you want to volunteer in whatever smaller, we take small volunteer time as well, because some people emailed me and said they already paid, but they wanted to help out, which is wonderful. I hope to see all of you or some of you on the 21st. OCTribe is a good hashtag to follow to find out about it, and also anyway, the URL for the unconference, I can't remember oh my God, I cannot remember the unconference hashtag, but the URL is ocu.chirpy with 2 R's, CHIRRPY.com. And I believe it's OCU 2013. But anyway, OCTribe will tell you, and ocu.chirpy with 2 R's.com for unconference, and we will see you here in June for the next online community meetup. And thank you, Betty from Edutopia.
Thank you, everybody.
And you guys can hang out till I kick you out. From